if you're a high performer athlete, business owner, or anyone that's chasing that next gear, chances are you've thought about testosterone optimization. It's a big trend right now. There's a lot of people jumping on the bandwagon, and maybe potentially you're considering TRT. But here's the truth that no one tells you. TRT is a waste of time if you don't fix these three things first. This isn't bro science. This is backed by the likes of experts in this field like Dan Garner, Alex Keikha, Dr. Mike T. Nelson, and some of the world's top performance labs. If you're tired of low drive, poor recovery, stubborn fat, and feeling like you've lost your edge, this episode is going to show you exactly what to fix first and give you actionable takeaways so that you can really get your testosterone where it needs to be naturally. My name's Coach Dylan. I've coached people for over a decade now. I've done my PT certs nearly 20 years ago, and I am at that point where things like these start to come into play. My goal right now is complete human optimization by starting from the inside out. Then we'll look at these other things that can go first. But my opinion is that we should fix the real reasons why this stuff is going on, because there's so many things we can do it. And today, I'm going to break those down and give you some actionable takeaways. So, more testosterone doesn't solve a system problem. And this is where I think everyone gets it wrong and they just go straight for the band-aid fix. Most guys think testosterone is the fuel, but testosterone is actually the fire, and you can't light a fire in a soaked forest. That's where people, I truly believe this is wrong. They think like testosterone is the thing that's going to really get you going, but it's the thing that adds to the fire once you have the fuel going. If you're inflamed, if you're stressed, if you're insulin resistant, or your liver's sluggish, TRT won't do what it think. You'll get high numbers on a lab test, but there'll be no real change. And this is actually why when you do a lab test, and this is something that we do with a lot of our clients, we get their blood work, and we might look at their testosterone and it may be lower, but they're showing signs of elite performance because they're more responsive to the testosterone they have. You can also get someone who has higher testosterone but not getting the same because they're just not responsive. And so that's where with this stuff is that if you get it right from the inside out, you're going to get more response from it. The real path to powerful testosterone is actually fixing the engine before you upgrade the fuel. Okay, and so here's a roadmap to essentially doing this. We want to get your foundation right first, and this is the foundation first method. This is an exact three-phase system I use with our high performers, and this is something you can use today before they even consider it. And for many, they'll never need it after. Phase number one is to fix insulin sensitivity, okay? And this is the metabolic foundation of pretty much everything, and almost all issues in our modern society could almost be traced back to this one thing. It's not only a factor that is going to influence or impact testosterone, it's going to impact overall health. Just in general, it's insulin sensitivity is one of the biggest reasons for poor health and decline of the health of our modern world. Poor insulin sensitivity means more fat, more estrogen, less testosterone, and slower recovery. Okay, and so we won't go deep into it today, but I'm just going to give you an action plan to fix this. And so insulin is essentially a hormone that's released when there is glucose or blood sugar starts to increase. As that is being switched on more and more, that actually becomes down-regulated. It becomes desensitized. It becomes what's called insulin resistant. What happens in this function is that more of the glucose that's released is going to be stored as body fat. It's also going to impact the way your liver functions, the way stress happens, the way cortisol. It basically creates a shitstorm of everything that's going on. And so one really simple way to fix this, okay, there's a few ways to fix this. There's nutrition, training, daily movement, and there's some optional tools. Now, one way that you can fix it quite quickly, okay, and this will give you really, really good results if you are wanting to drop body fat, if you're wanting to get leaner, reduce inflammation, and also get this insulin under control. What it is a 4-week diet boot camp, okay? And so essentially what it is, low carb, high protein, loads and loads of veggies. So what you're going to do, every single meal, is a heap of protein. Choose quite lean proteins for a start. Over here in Australia, we can use kangaroo. You'll use chicken breast. You'll use beef steak, beef mince. Essentially, any protein that is a good, decent size, or is good quality. Sorry, I should say. Then you're going to load up with lots and lots of vegetables. Okay, and so generally you're going to go three things green and three things not throughout the day, and that's going to give you enough micronutrients. And so the three things green is like basically three handfuls of green vegetables. You got your things like your spinaches, silver beets, broccoli, anything that's green. Three things that's not, once again, three things that are about palm size. And these can be capsicums. They can be basically anything that's not a starchy vegetable like potato or anything like that. You can take some of those three and turn it into fruit, especially if you're training. But keep the fruit for your training periods. Okay, so either just before or just after your training, then you can have your fruits in there as well. And I would highly recommend keeping this in. You can also add fats into here, so things like avocados, which is going to improve your fiber, and it's also going to help with the insulin resistance as well. Can have nuts as well, some oils, stuff like that. Biggest thing here is to cut out all processed foods, eliminate sugar, alcohol, and basically anything that ain't meat and veggies. Okay, it's as simple as that. And so people will say that's relatively extreme diet, and it is. But insulin resistance is one of the key things that is going to mess up your long-term health, and it's going to decrease your testosterone. What you'll find with this 4-week boot camp, okay, and it really depends where you're at. The first week, you're going to feel like us. The second week, you're going to start to feel really, really good. By the time you get to the third week, you're probably going to be pretty hungry, okay? And so generally about that third or fourth week, if you can, and if you have if you really want to get the most out of it, go to the 4 full weeks, and then starting to add in a little bit of starchy carbs. So your sweet potatoes, your whole grain rices and things like that. And you'll find that your insulin sensitivity is really going to start to improve. And then you'll utilize those carbohydrates very well as well. And that 4 weeks, on a low carb boot camp, we've seen people, and you can see their skin, it could be red and it just goes clear, like the inflammation in their body drops. You can see the water they're holding on to almost disappear and just get really, really lean in that time. So it is a great method to really have some rapid improvements in your health. Next thing is to train for muscle, okay? And so having muscle think of it like a sponge, okay? So the more muscle you got, the more you're going to soak up that glucose, that sugar that comes into your system, and you're going to use it more for performance, and you're going to get better testosterone as well. There's so much that like training heavy and training for strength is going to do for your hormonal profile. But one of the biggest factors is that growing muscle, because it's going to improve your insulin sensitivity, and it's going to essentially create like a fridge. Okay, it's going to soak up some of it, and it's going to allow you to be leaner for longer and just have a better insulin response. So make sure you train hard, train heavy. 3 to 4 times a week is enough. And then you're going to have a daily movement target, okay? And so one thing that will improve insulin sensitivity really, really quickly is, and it's something that's very simple, is every time you have a meal, go for a brisk walk, nose breathing only if you can, which will help decrease stress, which helps with all of this stuff, will drastically, it has a big impact on insulin sensitivity. It's one of the biggest impacts you can actually have, because it'll improve digestion, it'll improve the absorption and the utilization of the food you've just eaten, and it's going to help to improve your insulin response. So that brisk 5-minute walk straight after a meal is absolutely phenomenal. Try to do this, throughout the day. Aim for, this is why something like a step target can be very, very good. I'm more of a fan of doing some cardiovascular training than having step targets, because the better your cardiovascular engine, the better your metabolic engine, you're going to have better mitochondria, which is going to help all of this stuff. but that's a completely different day. One thing I do love to do with this is if you can have it, stack it with kids. So, have a feed, go for a walk with the kids, go play with the kids. Doesn't have to be just a boring solo walk. You can do stuff just to get that movement in, but try to think every time you have a meal, you got to move, okay? And the bigger the movement, the bigger the meal. Okay, so if you're training really, really hard, that's why I said have that fruit when you're training. Some optional tools that can really, really help here is berberine. So berberine is a great little supplement that will improve insulin sensitivity. You've also got magnesium as well. So magnesium in its forms of glycinate is going to help with insulin sensitivity as well. It also helps with up to 300 metabolic processes. So it's going to make everything we do here really, really powerful. It also helps with the detoxification of the liver, which is something we're going to get into as well. So that in terms of improving insulin sensitivity is a really great process for a start. If you would like the 4-week diet bootcamp, just comment bootcamp down below and I will get that over to you, or actually message me on Instagram at Dylan Limitless, and I can send that to you as a little bit of a thank you for watching and subscribing to this channel. Part number 2 to this is controlling cortisol with sleep and stress. Okay, so cortisol isn't just killing your drive, it's actually flipping your testosterone switch off. And this is why in the modern world, so many men are feeling like sluggish and like they don't have enough of this testosterone. Is because basically like their cortisol is competing with it. And so chronically high cortisol blunts testosterone production, which makes you catabolic. It also makes you feel flat, foggy, and unmotivated, which no matter how much you put into your body. And because when that will downregulate your response to testosterone, it doesn't matter how much you got. It's basically switching it off. So you're not actually getting the response as powerful as you could be with what you already naturally have. And that's probably the big thing is that people need to understand that, you can have more testosterone in your system, but it's a matter of actually, using what you've got. And a way to look at this is think of the first time you have a cup of coffee. You're off your head, you're bouncing off the walls. After a while, you need about 10 of the bloody things just to get out of bed. And so with that, that's what you call a downregulation or a desensitization to the neurotransmitters and the responses that caffeine has. And so all of our hormones, basically everything, a lot of our functions in the body are similar. If you have too much of it, it just basically switches off. It fizzles out and it just doesn't work as well as it should. So the action plan to get on top of this, we want to attack it from a few angles, and it's actually really simple. Okay, and so the first angle we're going to attack it from is in the morning to reduce stress, but also improve our circadian rhythm. Number one is we're going to use a bit of a morning ritual. Okay, and so this is essentially you're going to stand or sit and face the sun and just literally get sun on your skin, getting vitamin D, setting your circadian rhythm, and you're just going to practice gratitude, okay? So one of the things with gratitude is people who practice gratitude are generally happier, they generally tolerate stress better, and are just generally better people because they're better to be around because they're grateful for, even the smallest things in life. But that 5-minute sun exposure, it is going to start your natural cortisol rhythms, and it's going to start that, and it's going to get you up, get you going. It's also going to give you that vitamin D as well, but it's also going to say, hey, about 12 hours from now, I want you to start going to sleep as well. So when people talk about sleep routines and stuff like that, this actually starts here. Another way to look at this too is setting yourself up for the challenges that are coming across during the day. Now, stress it's basically impossible to avoid. Okay, you can go live in the bush, and I'm sure bloody at some point something will attack you, whether it's a spider, it gets cold, whatever, it doesn't matter. You cannot avoid stress, but what we can do is improve our response to stress. So one of the ways that you can also add to this 5-minute morning routine is think about what are the potential challenges that are going to come up during your day. This is something I talk with business owners that I coach and mentor who are doing really good money inside of their business. Is like, what challenges may you anticipate through the day, and how would your best self show up for this? How would they show up for this? What would your best self, if this situation came up, how would they approach that? How would they respond rather than react to this? Sometimes the good thing about that is that it says, okay, cool, I'm ready. I'm ready for whatever the day throws at me. And then you're not stressing about it. You're not so worried about it because you're prepped and you're ready for the challenge. It also is a great idea to just say, hey, what if something out of my control or completely unexpected comes up? How am I going to respond to that? Okay, and so this little setup can be absolutely life changing, and it will really set up your day. Okay. Next one is caffeine and food tweaks. Okay, so one of the things with certain people are super sensitive to caffeine. Okay, and so caffeine can stay in your system for hours, and it depends on your response, your ability for your body. Some people just don't have the enzyme that actually breaks down caffeine, and it can be something that will keep you up late at night, and you don't even realize. It's like, I haven't had a coffee for hours, but it's still impacting your system. So stopping caffeine after 10 a.m. is really powerful. Another one too with food is so to when we sleep, and I use a watch to track my sleep. One thing that will impact sleep is having food late at night and going to bed basically on a full stomach. When you're digesting that food, your nervous system is still on, it's still processing stuff, and it just doesn't allow you to shut down until later on while that meal's digested. You're also slowing down, so the digestion of that meal is even slower, and that will decrease the quality of your sleep. And so those things before, what we talked about is going for that walk 5 minutes after your meal will help with that digestion. And then ideally, you want to finish your last meal 2 hours before bed. That's going to improve your sleep quality. The next part of a really good sleep routine here is have a consistent bedtime time and a wake up, because once again that sets that circadian rhythm. Our body functions much better when it has a natural clock. And once you do have that natural rhythm, that natural routine, it will stay in it on its own. And so a really good bedtime routine is 30 minutes before bed is have a really warm, hot shower. The elevation of the heat in the body, as soon as you get out, and then you start to cool down, that's the body signal to start to shut down and go to sleep. Okay. And the way to one way to think of this is if you've ever been sleep somewhere really, really hot and you just want to put your foot outside the bed. Okay, your foot outside the bed is your body's natural instinct to try to cool down, to cool down your foot so that it circulates through the body to cool your body temperature down so it can sleep. One way you can also do this is to have an ice cold drink. Okay, and so adding lemon, honey, water, and apple cider vinegar to a really ice cold drink is something that will actually shut your nervous system down a lot quicker. It'll cool you down. The honey will give you a bit of a hit of serotonin as well because of the carbohydrates, and that will start to decrease your sympathetic arousal state, and this will decrease and make you fall asleep a lot faster. If you have 500 milligrams of magnesium glycinate, 5 grams of glycine, and 300 grams of ashwagandha with this, you'll find that you have a very, very good sleep. Another thing too is remove digital clutter from your bed. Make sure you're not on phones and stuff like that. Ideally, if you can, try to meditate or read, some fiction before you go to bed so that you're completely taking your mind off everything else. Think of your testosterone to cortisol ratio as a new KPI, okay? This is something, if you want to get a better response from your testosterone, you need to decrease and improve how your body is dealing with cortisol. Okay, phase number 3 or part number 3 of this is supporting liver function. Your liver is the biggest processing plant of basically everything that goes through your body. Okay, so it's not only going to process help with foods, toxins, all of that sort of stuff. It's going to also process hormones, and it's going to process your testosterone, and it's going to process things that will directly impact what goes on with your response to testosterone. So your liver controls sex hormone binding globulin, okay? It also detoxifies estrogen and balances hormone clearance. Now, as I said before, if we have too much of, caffeine in our system, eventually we get desensitized to it. Now, if our body doesn't clear the testosterone that's going through our body, that's constantly on, and then it will downregulate the response to that as well. And it's why we need our liver to function extremely well. And if you just fix the liver, you'll find that one thing is the insulin sensitivity will improve. Basically, those two go hand in hand. If you're insulin resistant, your liver function is going to be down. If your liver function's down, your insulin resistance is going to get even worse, and it's this big snowball. And so that's why we want to take it from both angles, the insulin sensitivity and then also the liver. If it's a fatty liver or inflamed, TRT gets wasted and you get mood swings, soft gains, and fatigue. Okay, so the liver is something that, especially for men, if we just focus on getting our liver functioning a lot better, generally a lot of things in our life improve, especially health-wise. So action plan for this is to have liver-friendly nutrition. And that diet boot camp, it'll actually help to improve liver function really, really well. If you really wanted to supercharge that diet boot camp, you do it as an intermittent fasting protocol. So if you're someone who's been a heavy drinker or you're overweight, then using something like that diet boot camp on an intermittent fasting window and then doing some fasted cardio in the morning is just going to supercharge this entire process. Okay, so it is something that can be extremely powerful for reducing levels of fatty liver and getting yourself back on track really, really quick. Things that you want to have is eggs. So eggs have a lot of choline in it, which is one of the key nutrients that is needed to help with liver detoxification. Garlic has sulfur, which once again, it helps with liver detoxification. Leafy green veggies, they're going to help as well. Big things here is looking up for foods that are going to help with this. But those are the key ones, okay? Eggs, garlic, leafy greens, they will help a ton. Big things here is eliminate alcohol, processed sugar, and increase water as much as you can. Get some good salted water. Have a big glass of salted water at the morning and night, and then drinking plenty of water throughout the day to help the liver do its job. Now, another some supplementation can be really useful here. One of the best supplements, and there's more and more supporting evidence coming out about this. Basically, this supplement is NAC or N-acetylcysteine. Okay, it's basically a stable bioavailable form of the amino acid cysteine, which is a precursor to glutathione. Now, glutathione is your body's master antioxidant. Okay, so glutathione is critical for detoxification, immune function, cellular repair, and protection from oxidative stress. Everything we've talked about today, like you've got cortisol going up, you've got stress going up, you're insulin resistant. All of that stuff is impacted or going to, be impacted if our detoxification is down, if our immune function is down, if we can't remove some of that oxidative stress. So having glutathione and being assisted by the NAC is going to help with all of that. Okay, so NAC is the rate-limiting precursor to glutathione. This is critical for DNA repair, immune support, and detox. What it basically does is it supports liver detox and hormone clearance. NAC is used medically to reverse liver damage from a lot of different things. It also can potentially help with reverse of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, commonly in insulin-resistant and overweight individuals. Basically, a healthy liver equals better regulation of the sex hormone binding globulin, testosterone, and estrogen clearance. Okay. And also, NAC may potentially help with insulin sensitivity as well, which is extremely important. Another little thing that may be of interest here is that it may also improve testosterone and fertility. So studies have linked NAC to improve sperm count, motility, and testosterone levels in subfertile men. And it just makes sense. Like having more of that glutathione, having a healthier body, having a body that is, responding well to the environment, and it just makes you more fertile. Just when you think of nature's laws, is like when we're under stress or when we are not healthy, why would we reproduce? Okay, so the mechanism of this is it reduces oxidative stress in the testes, it improves hormone balance, and it supports liver detoxification of estrogen. A couple other bonuses here that probably is really good for most men, especially for things like blood pressure and stuff as well, is omega-3s or fish oils and beetroot juice, which improves nitrates throughout the body to open up the blood vessels. How you track this is you're going to get blood work, okay? So we do a lot of blood work, and this is one of the critical things. We basically do 3 blood tests or 3 panels, a complete metabolic panel, a complete blood count, and then a hormone profile as well. Through that, it's going to tell us a lot what's going on. So all of this, think of like fixing your liver is like cleaning the oil filter on your hormonal engine. Everything runs smoother and clearer. And that right there, if I could just get that across in terms of, this presentation, is that if you can just fix the liver, a lot of things are going to work a lot better, okay? So these 3 systems are your testosterone foundation, okay? And this is why I really wanted to speak on this topic, because I truly believe is that everybody is always looking for the band-aid, and it's like these things are crazy powerful. TRT is an amazing tool, and it's helped so many people, but the foundations, if you just maximize this, you may find that when you do use the TRT, or when you get a better response from it, plus you're just going to feel better in general, and you may not even need it. So it's really, really good. If you do still go on it, it will actually work, and you're going to get more of the response from it as well. So think of this first as the first challenge, is like fix this, chase as high as you possibly can in terms of natural testosterone. I think this has got a bit muddy because people have talked down on things like test boosters and stuff like that, when really it's this stuff. This is the reason why people are struggling with this. And if you just fix these things and really chase the highest, best response from your natural testosterone, you'll be in a much, much better place. And then if you do have the assistance with the TRT, you'll be even better. If you found this useful, please do like, subscribe, and if you want to talk about blood tests further or go in deeper into this, please do message me at Dylan Limitless on Instagram, and I'm happy to talk.